As cases stay low, Delhi unlocks further. Now bars allowed to stay open till 10 p.m. with 50% seating. Parks and gardens finally to open up. This even as a new Delta Plus variant could become a variant of concern if unchecked, says the director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. All COVID deaths shall be certified as COVID deaths in the death certificates. A failure will invite action, including action against the doctor who certifies this, says the centre in the top court. Andhra Pradesh administers over 13 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccines in a day, a new record. Fuel prices hiked across India 27 times since May. Petrol prices have already crossed the 100 rupees per litre mark in 8 states and union territories. And meet an 83-year-old grandmother who is setting fitness goals. Hello and welcome. The top story. The Delhi government has allowed the opening up of bars from Monday, extended the timing for restaurants by another 2 hours. All of this part of the lifting of anti-COVID restrictions. So now public parks, gardens, golf courses, outdoor yoga activities, all are being allowed by the Arvind Kejriwal government, and bars will be able to open from noon to 10 p.m. with 50% seating capacity. The Delhi government has said in a fresh order, restaurants can now stay open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. instead of the current 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And these fresh relaxations, this phase of fresh relaxations comes amidst warnings by doctors and public health experts about the risks of a rapid unlock.
India is unlocking, the national capital is unlocking in a phased manner. With every week, activities are being unlocked and reopened for people to come take part in it. But from tomorrow onwards, the latest is that bars in the national capital will reopen after a long gap of almost 2 months, but with a restriction of only 50% capacity. At the same time, restaurants which have already reopened, it's been already a week, these restaurants will now open for longer duration, which means they can be open from instead of 8 p.m. till about 10 p.m. in the night. I'm at one such dine-in restaurant, a bar-cum restaurant, which is already looking forward to reopening and welcoming customers from tomorrow onwards. But let's take a look at it with a different aspect this time, because we are living in times of a pandemic. Speaking with me right now is Mr. Nitin of Pebble Street in south of Delhi. Thank you for speaking to us. Tell us a little bit about bars reopening from tomorrow and what's the look ahead, what's the plan? This time though, it's going to be before a possible third wave, but what is it going to look like at your restaurant?
Like we are opening after another gap during this COVID era, so we're looking forward to welcoming the guests. We are following all the protocols which have been given, underlined to us and given to us by the government authorities. Like we are working on a 50% capacity, and we would continue to do so till the COVID ends. We are taking guest temperatures. We're getting their hands sanitized. We're sanitizing the surfaces. Every hour, one of the dedicated employees, he comes over and sanitizes the surfaces with the sanitizing liquid. And we are maintaining distance between the tables. We are working only on a 50% capacity. So, the tables...
So like you mentioned, that you're also maintaining a gap, a social distancing within the occupied tables. And if I can just show you, and if I can ask our camera person to show that actually at restaurants, there is a gap of, there's a gap that is maintained between tables here, which is one of the measures that has been followed and is a protocol, in fact, a guideline of the center to ensure that there is social distancing wherever and whenever possible.
And in the midst of all of this, the Telangana government's decision to reopen schools and colleges and start physical classes in 10 days has raised huge concerns. Some are calling it irresponsible on part of the government, and they want the government to reconsider, especially since children don't have vaccines and young adults are not fully vaccinated.
No lockdown in Telangana from 6 a.m. today. Restrictions in all sectors have been lifted. What is raising concern though is the decision to have physical classes for all students from the 1st of July.
Right now we feel that this decision can wait, and even though we are looking forward to this a lot, we personally feel that this can take a back seat right now because safety is a #1 priority right now.
With the current situation being what it is, just coming out of the second wave, a third wave on the way, I really don't think this is a good idea.
I feel it not so safe because I'm worried about my little sister. She's not at all concerned about this COVID thing. She won't at all take care of herself. There are a lot more people out there who won't take care of themselves. So I don't feel it safe taking out this lockdown.
In March, schools had reopened with lots of precautions but had to be closed soon afterwards.
Schools open చేస్తే చాలా రిస్క్ అవుతుంది కదా. థర్డ్ వేవ్ మెయిన్ చిల్డ్రన్ మీద ఎఫెక్ట్ అవుతుంది అంటున్నారు. చిన్న పిల్లలకి కూడా అంటే అబోవ్ 5th క్లాస్ నుంచి అంటే ఓకే వాళ్ళు కొంచెం ఫాలో అవ్వగలుగుతారు. మనం చెప్పేవి ఇంటి దగ్గర చెప్పిన వాళ్ళు గుర్తుపెట్టుకొని ఫాలో అవుతారు. ప్రీ కేజెస్ వాళ్ళు, నర్సరీ వాళ్ళు, 1st to 4th వాళ్ళు అంత చేయలేరు. అంతసేపు మాస్క్ పెట్టుకోవడం కూడా మంచిది కాదని ఆల్రెడీ మనకి డాక్టర్స్ చెప్తున్నారు. మరి ఈ టైంలో స్కూల్స్ ఓపెన్ చేయడం ఎంతవరకు కరెక్ట్ అది గవర్నమెంట్ ఆలోచించుకోవాలి.
The 18+ students are just getting their first jab of vaccine. And for those in school, there is still no vaccine yet.
The Telangana government has said its decision to lift all lockdown restrictions is based on reports from the health department that says that the positivity rate in the state has dipped. Just in the last 24 hours, less than 1,400 cases and 10 deaths. Whereas students as well as parents are urging the government to reconsider its decision to open schools and colleges to physical classes within the next 10 days. In Hyderabad, with camera person Nagaraju, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.
And as states start unlocking, clearly the onus now is just going to shift to vaccinating harder and faster. Andhra Pradesh has now set a new record by administering over 13 lakh doses of the COVID-19 vaccines till 8 p.m. on Sunday. In the process, the state also crossed the 1 crore mark in vaccinating people with the first dose. And a statement put out by the government said at 8 p.m. over 1.3 million vaccinations were completed across the state, which is almost 50% of the national vaccination drive. It is a remarkable achievement to show that our medical team and other staff can take up over 1 million vaccinations a day if the government of India maintains supply, the state government has said in a statement. So talking about the government of India maintaining the supply after a sluggish start to our vaccination program, India is now rebooting. On the 21st of June, that is in a few hours from now, a new policy for COVID-19 vaccinations comes into effect, where India will now shift to a centralized procurement of vaccines, something experts have been advocating for months now. So here's what's going to happen. Now under this new reoriented policy, the centre will be providing the vaccines. The centre will be directly procuring 75% of the doses manufactured by vaccine companies and then distributing this among states at no cost to be administered free. The vaccine guidelines that were in place since May, which basically allowed states to buy 25% of doses from vaccine makers to inoculate those in the age group of 18 to 44 at government facilities, that's been junked. Now remember, in the last month, we've seen states struggling to procure vaccines, despite many of them even floating global tenders. But now the centre will be buying and giving jabs to the states, and all this free of cost. Under the old program, we had a confusing multiple vaccine price regime. Now private hospitals will continue to buy the remaining 25% and inoculate those willing to pay for their jabs. They cannot, however, charge more than 150 rupees as a service charge per dose over the fixed price of the vaccine. But already there seem to be problems. The West Bengal government has said that there will be no universal vaccination beginning Monday. This is because of a shortage of doses. The administration says they will stop inoculating those within the 18 and above age group unless they are in the priority groups. The state says there just aren't enough vaccines for all of them in the 18+ age group. This is what an official has said, and those included in the priority group are, amongst others, bus conductors, drivers, hawkers, health workers and their families. The decision not to vaccinate universally is also to avoid overcrowding at government hospitals, officials say. And that's not all. Even as we race ahead to vaccinate as many Indians as possible, a Delta Plus variant, a mutated version of the more aggressive B1617.2 strain that drove the second wave of infections in India, is undergoing additional mutation and could become a variant of concern if unchecked, has said the director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And he's added that India needs to learn from the UK, where this variant is causing a surge in cases.
Delta Plus variant now in India. This is a further mutation to the already present Delta variant. What more do we know about it, and is it a cause of concern?
So the Delta Plus is a variant which is in the same lineage as Delta variant. So it's in the same if you look at the phylogenetic tree, it's in the same lineage, but with a slight change. There is one more mutation which has been found, which could make could be a cause of concern, because this mutation, the 417, is something which may change the virus to some extent as far as its infectivity is concerned. This was also found, as far as I remember, in Brazil. So what we need to do is we need to observe. Currently, the WHO has said that this is a variant of interest, but it could become a variant of concern, because currently the number of cases are less. Now, will this variant, this Delta Plus, again become the dominant variant? Will it start causing more cases? That is something we need to observe very closely over the next few weeks. And therefore, it's very important that we continue our aggressive genome sequencing to see now, are we seeing more of the Delta or the Delta Plus, and how is the virus behaving in terms of these two variants in our community.
And now on Father's Day, our thoughts are with those who lost their guiding light to the pandemic. NDTV spoke with 26-year-old Dr. Aditya Gupta, whose heartfelt note about his father, Group Captain Sanjay Gupta's demise on the 30th of April, went viral on Twitter. His father was a fighter pilot who served in the Indian Air Force for 34 years. He passed away at the age of 55 after a long battle with cancer and eventually died due to COVID. Dr. Aditya has described his death in a note as saying, "A country lost its warrior and a COVID warrior lost his father."
For a lot of people, बहुत लोगों के लिए their fathers are an authority figure. For me, he was not one of them. He was someone who was jovial, someone who was जो कि बहुत ही खुले दिल के थे, हर एक पार्टी की जान होते थे, और मेरे सबसे अच्छे दोस्त थे.
It is Father's Day, but 26-year-old Aditya Gupta, a resident doctor in Delhi's AIIMS, only has memories left of his father. Group Captain Sanjay Gupta was a fighter pilot who flew MiG-21 and served in the Indian Air Force for 34 years. In December 2019, he was diagnosed with leukemia, a type of cancer. He was still fighting that battle when he caught COVID this April and passed away 15 days later. Dr. Aditya remembers how his father frequently visited him in his AIIMS hostel and how proud he used to be.
When I was preparing for my entrances 12th के बाद जब AFMT में I got in rank 6th, उस समय he called me up from Ahmedabad. I was in Delhi and he called me up and told me that Aditya, he used to call me Kolu प्यार से, Kolu तेरी rank 6th आई है, and that is the happiest moment of my life. He just cleared my DM entrance for pediatric oncology and I wanted to call him up and say, Papa, मेरी इसमें भी rank आ गई है, and I have cleared this also, and just wanted to him say that for him to congratulate me or him to say well done beta, those were the things I always wished to hear from him.
His father wanted to serve the society even post-retirement, but now Aditya plans to fulfill those aspirations while saving others who are battling cancer.
वो खुद Air Force में थे and he was like a big part of the society that was helping building of this nation. He was going to retire 2 more years after that. He had a LLB degree, either he'll become a lawyer to help people or he'll join politics as a medium in order to help people. So ये मुझे अभी भी लगता है कि जो मैं किसी तरह उनका एक अंश हूँ, उनकी तरह उनका ही वो हूँ, तो वो नहीं तो किसी तरह मैं करता रहूँ at least.
In New Delhi with camera person Mohammad Mursalin, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Welcome back. And as many states across India start unlocking, petrol and diesel prices are touching new heights. Petrol prices have already crossed 100 rupees per litre in 8 states and union territories.
Since the 4th of May,
fuel prices have been hiked across India 27 times. Petrol prices have already crossed 100 rupees per litre in 8 states and union territories. This when inflation is already on the rise. Other commodities including edible oil, gas prices are scaling highs, impacting the livelihoods of many middle and lower middle class in the times of a pandemic. In Mumbai, petrol prices have crossed 103 rupees 36 paise a litre. Prashant Deolkar is an ambulance driver who works with COVID patients. Prashant says he uses his bike to go to the hospital every day to pick up the ambulance. But now with rising fuel prices, he says it is becoming unaffordable for him.
अभी उसमें 14,000 मिल रहा है. 14,000 में क्या असर मिलेगा? 10,000 घर में देने का या 3,000 का पेट्रोल भरने का, क्या 1,000 रुपए खुद का खाने के लिए पैसा रखेगा?
In another metro, similar stories. In much of Karnataka, including Bengaluru, lockdown restrictions are being lifted from Monday. This means more vehicles on the roads of the city, both public transport and private vehicles.
Everybody is relying on the lockdown being lifted, but the government isn't taking good enough restrictions. So the government needs to do something to help the people out. They are here because they need to feed their families. I also need to feed my family. That's why I'm here.
In the national capital, petrol prices have shot up to Rs 98 per litre and diesel at 88 rupees per litre. And the common man is left with no choice but to dip into their savings.
देखो मैम, पहले जो पेट्रोल था पर डे का, इसमें अभी मेरा पर मंथली कम से कम 7 से 8 हजार रुपए का पेट्रोल लगता है.
पहले कितना था?
पहले ही 6-7 हजार रुपए का लगता था.
In 27 hikes, petrol prices have risen by 6 rupees 82 paise per litre and diesel prices by 7 rupees 24 paise a litre. During the second wave and subsequent lockdowns, many people lost their jobs, salaries went down, and with continuous rising of petrol and diesel prices, it is also impacting the overall retail and wholesale inflation, pushing the prices of essential commodities even higher. With Maya Sharma in Bengaluru and Sonakshi Chakravarti in New Delhi, this is Purva Chitnis in Mumbai for NDTV.
And the deadline is now over for approximately 40,000 people living in the Khori village, which is part of the protected green area for the Aravalli ranges. The demolition of the juggies is expected to begin, but no alternatives have been planned for their rehabilitation.
वहाँ तोड़ेंगे कैसे? वहाँ नहीं जाएंगे. गरीब लोगों को तो दुनिया सताती है. ऊपर वाला भी सताता है, इंसान भी सताते हैं.
सारा ये मतलब पूरा छत्ता यहाँ. ये इन्होंने ये पीछे को मतलब गिरा दिया. जो भी मतलब समझ तोड़ा था, मतलब यहाँ नीचे लैंड जो मतलब ऊपर लैंड रहता है, टुकड़े था जो भी था, मतलब वो यहाँ नीचे गिरा दिया.
For 40-year-old Sarveera, life has come to a standstill after her house was demolished by the Faridabad Municipal Corporation in the midst of a pandemic.
15 साल से हम यहाँ हैं. जब पहली बार घर तोड़ा तब भी कुछ नहीं कहा, दूसरी बार तोड़ा जब भी कुछ नहीं कहा. मेरा परिवार पूरा बिखर गया और ये टूटे फूटे घर में हम रह रहे. मजदूर आदमी है, खाने के लिए है नहीं. लॉकडाउन लगा था, उसके पहले फिर बाद में घर तोड़ दिया. ना कोई कागज मांगा, ना कोई पत्र मांगा, ना कोई नोटिस लगाई, कुछ नहीं.
On the 7th of June, the Supreme Court directed the Municipal Corporation of Faridabad to remove encroachments in the Khori village, which falls under the protected green area for the Aravalli range, within 6 weeks. Under the forest law, no construction is permitted here because it is a notified forest land. But over the years, successive governments have turned a blind eye. Many residents say they have resided in these slums for over 30 years. What especially angers many here is their claim that hotels and multi-story residential complexes in this area have not been touched. The corporation says these buildings have permits. Many slum dwellers here point out that they have voter IDs or Aadhaar cards too, yet their shelters have been raised.
ये पीछे आप देख रहे हो 5-स्टार होटल है, तो उसको तो तोड़ा नहीं जाता है, जबकि वो भी हिल में आता है, अरावली हिल में. और हमारे ये गरीब के घरों को ही देखा जाता है. जब हमने खरीदा था तब इसको बोला नहीं था कि ये हिल में आता है.
Ghanshyam, who invested his entire savings in building this house for his family of 5, can barely afford 2 meals a day. And now his house no longer has a roof or a door.
अब पहली बार इन्होंने मतलब इनको पकड़ के लोग ले गए, मतलब 2-4 आदमियों को ले गए यहाँ से. ये घर वालों को भी बाहर कर दिया उधर,
और सबको बाहर करके फिर तोड़ दिए.
अच्छा.
बाकी आप उनको बोले तो पुलिस मतलब फिर आने नहीं देता, डंडा मार देता था उधर।
The Haryana Chief Minister says that his state is discussing resettlement plans, but only for those who are from Haryana.
जो क्लियरेंस वाला विषय है ये कहीं अधूरा है। कई बार क्या होता है, अनऑथराइज्ड कॉलोनीज बनती हैं, इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन होती है, वो एरिया फॉरेस्ट का एरिया है और उस एरिया में बिना किसी परमिशन के वो सारी चीजें हुई हैं। सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑर्डर है, एग्जीक्यूट तो होगा ही, लेकिन उनकी रीसेटलमेंट की जो योजना हरियाणा के जो लोग होंगे और हरियाणा के लोग यानी काम करते होंगे यहाँ, उनके लिए रिसेटलमेंट स्कीम का विचार कर रहे हैं। डिप्टी कमिश्नर को कह दिया, उस विचार करके कोई ना कोई बना रहे हैं।
Earlier this week, a 70-year-old senior citizen died by suicide. Neighbors allege the man was under extreme stress as he had recently taken a loan to build his home but feared its demolition.
ये पेड़ में लटके हुए थे सुबह के टाइम, तो पता लगा कि ये घर बना टूटने के चक्कर में उन्होंने सुना कि टूटने वाला है, इसीलिए उन्होंने फांसी लगा लिया।
कब की बात है
ये कल सुबह की बात है।
The Surajkund police says it has registered a case against a property dealer who they say sold him government land fraudulently. The residents of Khori village are in extreme distress. The ongoing pandemic has already eaten up their savings. Now their homes are being demolished with electricity supply and water supply being cut off. All they ask for is either they be given land where they can stay or they be compensated. With camera person Rakesh Singh, Shanakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.